Week 2 is officially in the books, and for some of us, our teams are doing much better than anticipated. Others are starting to panic.
Today, old friend.
So in today's video, we're going to go over the top 5 teams that should be hitting the panic button and what they have to look forward to and the potential of turning around their season. But before we get too much further, always got to do it, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with your friends, any sports fans you know. We're trying to build a community through these, weeks of football coming here and just want to discuss and have conversations. So make sure you do that. Make sure you leave a comment so we can keep that conversation engaging and everything to that degree. And also, I just want to thank today's video sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is by far my favorite daily fantasy app. It's the one I've won the most money with, and it's the most simple to use. All you have to do is pick the higher or lower based on what you think players are going to do, and you can build a ticket with it. You build multiple players. You pick 3, 4, 5, 6 players, up to 8 players in one ticket, and see how you do. It makes Sundays more fun. It's something that's really fun, and something that on Saturdays I build lineups with people who want to watch, and we try to win together. So make sure you use my code TJS for new customers, and then you'll get $50 in bonus funds if you do a $5 wager. Once again, that code is TJS. It's for new customers, and it would really help the channel out. It's the best way to help the channel. And like I said, come join me on Saturdays and let's help build tickets. And always play responsibly. Make sure you can only play with what you can afford to lose and hopefully win some. But I want to thank Underdog for the partnership, and let's get back into the video. So in this video, it's 5 teams that I'm really saying should be hitting the panic button, meaning like it may be over already. 0-2 teams get into the playoffs about 15% of the time. Those aren't great odds. And we have a lot of 0-2 teams here. So let's jump off with a couple honorable mentions, starting with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's season started with a lot of hope. It looked like Bryce Young was going to be developing into that quarterback after last year's benching, him coming back stronger. They got a new weapon in Ted McMillan. They looked like they were going to be in a much better situation than they were last year. Unfortunately, Bryce Young has actually taken a step back. He is not looking like the kid who was playing last year. He looks like he is currently going to be struggling the rest of the season. Not to mention they brought in Adam Thielen, who was supposed to be this veteran presence, and traded him back to the Minnesota Vikings. They're giving away players that could have really helped them. And it's not just all Bryce Young. The offensive line is struggling. They just don't look like they're going to be a solid team this year. There are some positives with Carolina, though. Their defense is their best part of their team. They've been scrappy. They've been keeping games close, but the offense hasn't been able to capitalize whatsoever. That is something that young teams do struggle with, and something that they can, hopefully course correct here. And again, it's the NFC South, so you have a real opportunity because the division is not very good that you can probably catch up some games. You're going to need to win your division games, but all that to say that, Carolina, although I'm rooting for them, I'm probably hitting the panic button. Another honorable mention, the Houston Texans. The offense is struggling. That offensive line cannot protect CJ Stroud. And granted, CJ's making mistakes, but people who are pointing at CJ saying that he is the problem are ridiculous. The offensive line is 100% the problem. They did not invest in it. They traded away their best left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. They didn't address the issue until the second round of the draft. And even after addressing the issue in the second round of the draft, they only took one player. They didn't take any other offensive lineman. Instead, they took a wide receiver who is basically their return guy who hasn't really even seen the field that much. And granted, Noel has been great on that field, but he is not getting the touches in a wide receiver role. He's trying to produce as much as he can from special teams. Instead of putting a draft pick in a player who could have helped the offensive line almost immediately with the injuries they have, they decided to go with wide receiver for God knows whatever reason. The other issue is that the Texans had very high expectations coming into this year. They were supposed to be taking that step forward, and it looks like they took that step back. The only reason that there is hope is that they were an 0-2 team a few years ago and still made the playoffs. CJ has had a reputation of bouncing back, and it looks like he's making improvements. Compared to week 1 to week 2, he looked more comfortable. He was able to make some plays. He got a touchdown. There is hope there. D'Amico is more of a stabilizing players coach. The issue, however, is that D'Amico is kind of the problem at this point because the team keeps taking penalties. They are undisciplined. He needs to figure out how to discipline that team if they're going to take a step forward. But at this point, they're not taking that step forward, giving it a little more hope because their next part of the schedule is the Jaguars and Titans. Very winnable games. The Jaguars have improved, but those are winnable games for both those teams. So the Texans can bounce back, win the next 2 weeks, be 2-2, be in a much different position. This season could turn around, but it is all dependent on what they do to address it, but it's not looking good. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns.
We don't even expect you to be good. We just want you to be watchable. Do you have any idea how low our expectations are? We don't expect you to win the Super Bowl. We just want you to look better than a Division III high school team.
The reason the Browns are number 5 is that everyone kind of saw this come. They don't have the quarterback to take them to that next level. They drafted Dylan Gabriel. They drafted Shedeur Sanders. They traded for Kenny Pickett, who they eventually traded away, but they're still going with Joe Flacco. Their run game is poor, which granted, I will give them credit because Judkins sat out most of camp. He looked very good in week 2, but still, there's not a lot there. They're down a lot, which means they're not going to run the ball very often. There's not a standout performance yet to really go, hey, that's our team. They don't have anybody to do it. In certain positions, they are very young. Not quarterback, obviously, but after this week, you even saw them put Dylan Gabriel in the game because Joe was struggling so bad. Something has to turn around with this Browns team, and we don't know what that's going to be. The only thing that gives them hope is Kevin Stefanski has had a history of turning his teams around and being able to make the playoffs, and he's done it with Joe Flacco. So you have that hope going for you. Like I said, they're a younger team, and they've been making the young guys have been making mistakes, hands down. They need to correct that. If they correct that, they could get some wins and make games a little bit closer than 42-17. Hitting the panic button on the Browns, but there is some hope. Number 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have ran this league for a few years now. It has been nonstop Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City. So for them to start 0-2 for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career is kind of crazy. The defense looks like they have taken a step back. They are not able to close out games like they have in years past. They've lost a few pieces, but not enough to make it like this much of a drastic difference. It used to be if the opponent had the ball and the Chiefs were in the lead, you trusted that defense to be able to shut them down. Through the first 2 weeks, that faith isn't there right now. Unlike the Browns, though, the Chiefs are an aging team. Travis Kelce's getting older. Chris Jones is getting older. Their key weapons are aging out and not going to be able to perform the way they used to. Again, Father Time is undefeated, unfortunately. This is not a dig at the Chiefs, not saying that they won't make the playoffs, but it's definitely a step back from what they've been doing. Why it gives me hope, though, is that core is still elite. You still have Mahomes, and he's Patrick Mahomes. He struggled the first 2 weeks, but he can turn it around. He really can. If you have him as your quarterback, you have a lot of faith that it's going to be fine. The losses have also been very close. And they've been against 2 very good teams. You have the Super Bowl winner and the Chargers, who have been surprising a lot of people this year. So they're not the worst losses in the world. The other key factor is that their receiving core is either suspended or banged up right now. I'm only hitting the panic button in the next few weeks for the Chiefs. I think in the long run, they should be okay. But as of now, I'm panicking if I'm a Chiefs fan. The Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson was supposed to turn the Bears around entirely, and that is not happening. The Bears have both been blown up to your division rivals. You are now 0-2 in the division. It's not looking good. They also don't look like they can get anything together. Yeah, Roma Dunze had a very nice day against the Lions, but the team still freaking lost 52-21. There's something that's not right there. I personally don't think Caleb Williams belongs in Ben Johnson's system. Certain quarterbacks just don't work, and I think Ben Johnson's system does not work for Caleb Williams. But there's bigger issues at hand. The offensive line is not great. They've been turning the ball over, committing penalties, simple things that are going to lose you football games in the future. What gives me hope about the Bears is just like the Browns, they're a young team. Roma Dunze looks like he's a very big bright spot. Caleb Williams is only in year 2. They were also considered to be one of the worst teams in this division, so they have a little bit of a leash still. So they can develop more, get to a respectable place this season, and continue rebuilding in the offseason. I don't think that's too insane. But the Bears are one of those teams, I'm hitting the panic button. I think their season might already be gone. The New York Jets. Their defense, which was supposed to be their strength, looks like their weakness. They've given up 64 points through 2 games. And the Jets were, again, supposed to be considered an elite defense. Justin Fields has been inconsistent. He's had a good game week 1. Week 2 was a little bit worse. He wasn't as consistent in completions. And he ended up leaving the game with concussion, which means they're going to have to go to Tyrod Taylor, or Tyrod, however he prefers how to say it. I apologize. But Taylor is going to be their starting quarterback, who a few years ago was a great option, but now he is much older. So we're going to see what that offense really looks like. They've not been able to sustain drives. They kill drives on 3rd down. They're not able to get those conversions, and that's really going to beat up on a team. What gives me hope is they do have a very good defense, especially in people like Sauce Gardner. They have the talent to turn that team around. They just got to figure it out. At this point, it is frightening, but there is still hope if that defense can get it together. That offense can hopefully just keep them in games to a degree, and they get some wins, so there is some hope there. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot that I'm like, yeah, I think the Jets can really turn around. It is all relying on their defense, and at this point, they need to get a players-only meeting soon because it's bad. They need to figure out what's going on that defense. And number 1, the Miami Dolphins. Miami was a team with some decent expectations, maybe taking that next step, maybe competing for a playoff spot. But at this point, it looks like Mike McDaniel is going to be fired here in the next few weeks. That offense, they looked better last week compared to week 1. Their defense is allowing points consistently. Getting points on the Dolphins looks like to be a very easy feat. Struggling, especially on third downs, late game situations, they give up easy points. The offense can't build enough of a lead to sustain that throughout the game, and their defense ends up losing it for them. That is not a recipe for success. Tua's had his moments, but he's starting to show he may not have enough to make it in the NFL anymore as a starter. He's had concussion issues, he's had injury issues, inconsistency issues. And again, it's not like he wasn't a good player. It's sometimes that's how it breaks in the NFL, and maybe he is going to be better served as a backup. But at this point, he's Miami's only option. Unless they trade for somebody like Kirk Cousins, there's nobody in that building who is threatening him for that job. So the fact that they're going to have to ride with Tua the entire season, and this is what we're already getting, I don't have a lot of faith in Miami. The only positives that could possibly turn it around for Miami is they do have the playmakers to do it, and they haven't given up when they've been in losing situations. They've still been competing, but I don't think that's enough, man. I'm hitting the panic button. That is one team on the Dolphins. I'm hitting the panic button. I think McDaniel is gone in the next few weeks. He's definitely the first coach to be fired. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But that's just what I think, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Are there any teams I missed that really should be hitting the panic button right now? Let me know down in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Share with all your friends. Make sure you go to Underdog. Use my code TJS for a first-time player bonus. It really helps the channel here, really helps me grow. But other than that, everyone, I hope you have a great day, and until the next one, have a good one.